What up, though? Take a few seconds to think for yourself. Earth's soil is divided by lines on the map. Take a trip to any border and you quickly find ain't no borders of anything. From any state to any state, go to the lines on the map that represent the so-called borders of those states. In real time, go to those places in person, and guess what? The only things that make you believe in a separation of different states, countries, or continents are the signs on the side of the roads or the signs on the roads, right? Even the road paved with concrete says someone claims the rights, dominion over this portion of earth, and you think you traveling on something that someone else owns, which in reality is just earth soil that's been paved with concrete and littered with directional signs that think for you. Signs and directions that convey to you what you should think about where you are on earth soil. Take a few seconds to think for yourself. Go ahead. Now, let's shake it. How many times have you said Africa, Asia, Europe as if they were separate? And you separated them according to your interpretations of the lines on the map or lines on maps. How many times have you said Canada, North America, Mexico, Central America, South America as if they were separate? And you separated them according to your interpretations of the lines on maps. Do you look at the lines on those maps? Did you look at the lines on those maps? Did you look at the soil? Is the soil separated? Or do the lines on maps separate the soil? Is the soil separated? Or do the lines on the map separate the soil? Let's shake it. Worldometer. 7 continents. Asia, Africa, Europe, North America, South America, Australia, Antarctica. National Geographic. Continent. A continent is one of Earth's 7 main divisions of land. The continents are, from largest to smallest, Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe, and Australia. This is for grades 3 through 12 plus. Earth science, geology, geography, physical geography. education.nationalgeographic.org. When geographers identify a continent, they usually include all the islands associated with it. Japan, for instance, is part of the continent of Asia. Greenland and all the islands in the Caribbean Sea are usually considered part of North America. The continents of Europe and Asia are actually part of a single enormous piece of land called Eurasia, an imaginary line running from the northern Ural Mountains in Russia south to the Caspian and Black Seas separates Europe to the west from Asia to the east. North America, the third largest continent, extends from the tiny Aleutian Islands in the northwest to the Isthmus of Panama in the south. The continent includes the enormous island of Greenland in the northeast. In the far north, the continent stretches halfway around the world, from Greenland to the Aleutians. But at Panama's narrowest part, the continent is just 31 miles across. Let's shake it. Greenland, off the east coast of Canada, is the world's largest island. Despite its name, Greenland is mostly covered with ice. From the freezing Arctic to the tropical jungles of Central America, North America enjoys more climate variation than any other continent. From coral reefs in the Caribbean to Greenland's ice sheets to the Great Plains in the US and Canada. South America is connected to North America by the narrow Isthmus of Panama. South America's southernmost islands, called Tierra del Fuego, are less than 700 miles from Antarctica. These islands even host some Antarctic birds, such as penguins, albatrosses, and terns. Early Spanish explorers visiting the islands for the first time saw small fires dotting the land. These fires, made by indigenous people, made by Americans, seemed to float on the water, which is probably how the islands got their name. Tierra del Fuego means land of fire. The Andes, Earth's longest terrestrial mountain range, stretch the entire length of South America. Many active volcanoes dot the range. In northern South America, the Amazon River and its tributaries flow through the world's largest tropical rainforest. In volume, the Amazon is the largest river in the world. South America is also home to the world's highest waterfall, Angel Falls, in the country of Venezuela. Water flows more than 3,212 feet, almost a mile. The falls are so high that most of the water evaporates into mist or is blown away by wind before it reaches the ground. South American rainforests contain an enormous wealth of animal and plant life. More than 15,000 species of plants and animals are found only in the Amazon River basin. Amazonian plant species are sources of food and medicine for the rest of the world. Europe, the second largest continent, contains just 7% of the world's land. In the east, the Ural Mountains separate Europe from Asia. Africa, the second largest continent, covers an area more than 3 times that of the United States. Africa is home to 56 countries. Asia, the largest continent, stretches from the eastern Mediterranean Sea to the western Pacific Ocean. There are more than 40 countries in Asia. The continent of Asia includes many islands, some of them countries. The Philippines, Indonesia, Japan, and Taiwan are major island nations in Asia. You can check out the connections. if you notice that the landmass that is termed Africa is connected to the landmass we term Asia. Right around, is that Egypt? And then in Asia, what is that? Israel? They are connected. And they are connected around, what is that? Morocco and Spain. And if you look on Google Maps, it'll show water. You'll see the color of the water on Google Maps, but then at Morocco and Spain, you'll see land under that water that's connecting the two. It's almost like it's been flooded by a dam or something like that. I'm not familiar with that, but I'm pretty sure you will dig a little deeper. Maybe. And here we have a map of what you term Africa. And again, as you can see, it is connected to what we term Asia at Europe. And I believe that is Israel is where it's connected. And Morocco and Spain, although there is a division, like I said, if you go to Google Maps, you'll see that there is land connecting the two. Look closely when you go. Let's shake it. Another map of what we term Africa, Asia, Europe. And as you can see, Africa is connected at Egypt and Israel. And pay attention to Morocco and Spain. World Atlas. Is North America and South America one continent? I don't think we even need to, like I said, if we're thinking for ourselves, I don't think there's really any question. Maybe it was rhetorical. Worldatlas.com. Some people feel there are just 5 continents on Earth, and others argue for a 7-continent model. It depends on where you are located and who is teaching you. That a bitch. When considering North America and South America as separate continents, North America is made up of Canada, the U.S., Mexico, the countries of Central America, and those of the Caribbean. Depending on where you live in the world and who is teaching you, you may have learned there are just 5 continents on Earth. Depending on where you live in the world and who is teaching you, this is why I say take a moment to think for yourself. Because obviously their facts depend on where you are and who is telling you. Australia, Eurasia, Africa, and North and South America. Sometimes the Americas are lumped together as one continent, and Antarctica is included as the 5th. In other places, students are taught the 7-continent model. Under these guidelines, the continents include North America, South America, Australia, Asia, Africa, Europe, and Antarctica. Some schools of thought also advocate yet another model with just 6 continents, lumping Asia and Europe together in Eurasia, yet keeping North and South America separate. You have to think for yourself. You have to think for yourself so that you can pass it on to your children, because this is very confusing. We just looked at maps. You can go from the northernmost part of Europe to the southernmost part of what we term Africa without crossing a body of water. You can go to the northernmost part of Canada to the southernmost part of South America without crossing a body of water. So, how many land masses are we speaking of? Think for yourself. And in the meantime, let's shake it. As such, the answer to the question in this article title is both yes and no. See, even they're confused. Yes and no. A continent is a larger continuous mass of land that people generally regard to be one combined region. The largest continent on Earth is Asia. When considering North America and South America as two distinct continents, they are divided in the following way. In general terms, North America sits between the Arctic Circle to the north and the Tropic of Cancer to the south. South America, in contrast, is the southern portion of the Americas, bounded by the Caribbean Sea in the north and northwest and the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans to the east, west, and south. South America joins North America at the Isthmus of Panama, which is a land bridge that is only about 30 miles. A land bridge. Question: what's the difference between a land bridge and the landmass continuing? Is it one landmass or is it two landmasses connected by land? North America and South America are generally considered to be two separate continents by many revered scholarly authorities. North America and South America are generally considered to be two separate continents by who? By many revered scholarly authorities, the people who you look up to. The people who you look to for your facts. Makes you want to question what is a fact. At some point, I've separated fact and truth from reality. I'll go with reality. This is a map showing that the Americas are one landmass. Check it out. Look. Think for yourself. Don't confuse your children. It's enough that you send them to a place where they're not loved all day to get educated. Educated, synonyms of educate, nurture, nourish. You send them to a place where they're not loved all day to be nurtured and nourished, when you should be doing that. This is another map showing this one land mass that we call America. You know, America. Where you from? Where your people from? where your family's from. And you know that because you think for yourself. Good. This is good. Online Etymology Dictionary, the online version of the etymology of words. Europe, from Latin Europa. Europe, from Greek Europe, which is of uncertain origin, as a geographic name first recorded in the Homeric hymn to Apollo 522 BCE, often explained as broad face, from Uri's wide. OPS face, literally eye, from pi root OKW to C, but also traditionally linked with Europa, Phoenician princess in Greek mythology. Klein, citing Heinrich Louis, suggests a possible Semitic origin in Akkad, Eribu, to go down, set, in reference to the sun, which would parallel Occident. Another suggestion along those lines is Phoenician Arab, Arab, evening, hence, west. Euro, before vowels, word forming element meaning Europe. Online Etymology Dictionary, again, the online version of the etymology of words. Asia, circa 1300. Asia, circa 1300. What was it before that? From Latin Asia, from Greek Asia, speculated to be from Akkadian Asu, to go out, to rise, in reference to the sun. Thus, the land of the sunrise, used by the early Greeks of what later was known as Asia Minor by Pliny of the whole continent. While I was thinking Asia was in reference to some people, it looks like the people were just fit to the definition or interpretation. Online Etymology Dictionary, the online version of the etymology of words. Africa, Latin Africa, terra. African land, Libya, the Carthaginian territory, the province of Africa, Africa as a continent. Fem, of adjective Africus, from Afar, an African, a word of uncertain origin. The Latin word originally was used only in reference to the region around modern Tunisia. It gradually was extended to the whole continent. Derivation from a Phoenician cognate of Arabic afar, dust, earth, is tempting. The Middle English word for Afrique. It says Africus, from Afar, an African, a word of uncertain origin. The Latin word originally was used only in reference to the region around modern Tunisia. It gradually was extended to the whole continent, and gradually everyone started using it without thinking for themselves. But this is what a program is. Did you watch a program? Have you watched programs? Did they work? Online Etymology Dictionary, the online version of the etymology of words. And I always stress the online version because physical copies, you get something different. America, 1507, the Western Hemisphere, North and South America. Cartographer Martin Waldseemüller's treatise, Cosmography Introductio, from modern Latin Americanus, traditionally after Amerigo Vespucci, 1454 to 1512, who made 2 trips to the New World as a navigator and claimed to have discovered it. His published works put forth the idea that it was a new continent, and he was first to call it Novus Mundus, New World. Amerigo is more easily Latinized than Vespucci, Latin Vespucius, which might have yielded place name Vespuccia. The sense in English naturally was restricted toward the British colonies, then the United States. The man's name, Amerigo, is Germanic, said to derive from Gothic, Amaurik, literally work ruler. The Old English form of the name has come down as surnames, Emmerich, Emery, etc. The Italian fem form merged into Amelia. Colloquial pronunciation, Americae, not uncommon. 19th century goes back to at least 1643 and a poem that rhymed the word with away. America, U.S. society viewed as racist, fascist, oppressive, etc., is attested from 1969. The spelling is German, but it also might suggest the KKK. I spoke more in depth about America, the actual term, and Amerigo Vespucci in one of my other YouTube shows. I'm not sure which one it is, but maybe you'd like to go check out them all. I invite you to check them all out. But for now, let's shake it. Allegory of the Continents, 16th and 17th century Renaissance art. 16th and 17th century Renaissance art. The 1500s and 1600s. Featuring the earliest paintings and statues of American, Indian, and African tribes depicted side by side in some of the oldest castles and churches of Europe. Volume 1, Allegory of the Continent, 16th and 17th Century Renaissance Art. Volume 1. Renaissance art is the painting, sculpture, and decorative arts of the period of European history, emerging as a distinct style in Italy in about 1400. Renaissance art, perceived as the noblest of ancient traditions. Renaissance art, perceived as the noblest of ancient traditions. Allegory, plural, noun, allegories, a story, poem, or picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning, typically a moral or political one. Allegory, figurative treatment of an unmentioned subject under the guise of another similar to it in some way. Late 14th century from Old French allegory, 12th century from Latin allegoria, from Greek allegoria, figurative language, description of one thing under the image of another. Literally, a speaking about something else, from allos, another, different, from pi root, al, one, beyond, plus agorion, speak openly, speak in the assembly, from agora, assembly. The four continents. In the 16th century, the world was divided into four continents: Africa, America, Asia, and Europe. Each of the four continents was seen to represent its quadrant of the world. The four parts of the world, or the four corners of the world, refers to the Americas, the West, Europe, the North, Asia, the East, and Africa, the South. This is a church in Germany. Should I butcher these names? Or should I just let you read them? Yeah, I'll let you butcher it. This is a church in Germany. A church in Germany. Period of design 1690 to 1693. We're still talking about the church in Germany. Artist Johann Baptist Understeiner. Glorification of the heart of Jesus through the four continents, left to right: America, Europe, Africa, Asia. From left to right: America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. And the four quadrants of the world are being represented by people. They painted the people who represented those four quadrants of the world in 1690 to 1693. It's not that long ago. For all you people who've been digging into the records to find out who your grandparents, your great grandparents, your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth great grandparents are, you know that 1690, 1693, it's not that long ago. From left to right: America, Europe, Africa, Asia, in a church in Germany. America and Europe. This is how they depict it: America and Europe. On the left, that figure is America. On the right, that figure is the representation of Europe. Look. Look. It's kind of, look, you see the feathers on the head, the feathers on the biceps. See the arrows. That's America. 1690. That's America. It's funny, that picture does not look like who all of us term today as Native Americans. No shade to the Native Americans, but that person on the left who's representing America in that church painting, Renaissance art in Germany, Africa and Asia on the left, that figure it represents Africa, and on the right, that figure represents Asia. And when you see that figure representing Asia and the figure on the right representing Europe, it starts to sink in that the lines on the map are just that: lines on a map. The soil isn't separated. Okay, let's move along. Now, again, you butcher that name. This is a castle located in Germany. A castle located in Germany. Germans know who you are. Well, maybe not today. Everyone's been watching programs and been affected by them. But this castle in Germany, on the castle in Germany, period of design 1712 to 1713, owner of the paintings, Adolf von Dalberg. The four continents is part of the wall decoration: America, Africa, Europe, and Asia. In the hall of the Southern Court of Honor, there are four individual representations on the wall, each dealing with one of the four continents. Europe holds a horse and is wrapped in precious clothes. Asia is depicted sitting on a camel. The allegory of America is wrapped in a feather skirt and wearing a feather crown. The accompanying page protects her with a parasol. A lion stands by the group of people who are gathered at a body of water and can be caressed. Africa is sitting on an elephant. America. America. Again, those people that they painted to represent America, these are the people who they've known are American. Why how do these people know and you don't? How do these people know and I didn't? Perhaps maybe because I wasn't thinking for myself. Were you? This is Africa. This is how they depict Africa, the second picture. This picture right here. This is Africa. This is Europe. This is Asia. See, the picture of Europe, you're not surprised. You're not surprised. This is always how Europe is depicted. But guess what? This isn't always how America is depicted. Even today, Europe is depicted the same. But America, for some reason, you don't see yourself in those people. I think that'll change after we shake it. And Asia. This is a church in Germany. These are some beautiful structures. This is the church in Germany, another church in Germany. Opulent. On the church in Germany, the period of design for the painting, 1714 through 1741. The four continents emblems, left to right: America, Africa, Asia, Europe. They know who you are. You just don't know who you are. The church in Germany, this is America. Look, Look. Looks to be like gold. We can't really speak on complexions, but what we can speak on is features. You know anyone who looks like this woman? Do you? Again, no shade to anyone who terms themselves Native American. But throughout the hundreds of pictures I've seen and videos I've seen of Native Americans, from Native Americans even speaking, none look like this. You would think that in the 1600s and 1700s, that when they were painting, Renaissance painters, when they were painting the quadrant of Earth that they called America, that they would try to be as accurate as possible. Why wouldn't the features look like those who you term Native Americans today? This is Africa, how they're depicting the African. This is Asia. And this is Europe. Now remember, in the one with America, there was an alligator. Africa, there was an elephant. Asia, there was a camel. And Europe, there is a horse. If you dig, not even deep, but if you can get past and the smoke and mirrors, you'll find that all of these animals were in America thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago. I'll say hundreds. I don't want to get into thousands of years ago. All of these animals, I spoke about it, especially lions, tigers, woolly mammoths, the ancestors of elephants were here. Horses, camels, you can look that up. That's easy. Camels, you can look that up. But you always think that these animals came from somewhere else. Because what's the common theme? All life started in that landmass that we term Africa. All life started there. A squirrel ate something, caught a raft over the Atlantic Ocean, came over here, pooped out a seed, and all the trees grew over here in America. ... Let's shake it. This is a palace in Germany, Munich, Nymphenburg, Pagodenburg. A palace in Germany. What is that structure made of? These structures are still standing. We got to find out what they made of. We might need to make our dwelling out of those materials. Or we just use some clay brick. This is the palace in Germany. Beautiful room. Beautiful room. Absolutely beautiful. What is Is this the ceiling? Yes, this is the ceiling in the palace. Oh my God, these people. Attention to detail. Spectacular. About this palace in Germany, 1716 to 1719, grotesque with the four continents. First, a youthful Europe whose hair is tied back by a ribbon adorned with three feathers and a brooch. Europe wears wide tires on both upper arms. Her flowing lower part is fixed at the waist by a bodice, which shows the figure bareheaded. Europe, sitting with her left hand, is holding the hound left to her feet, and the greyhound on the right, holding a dripping tongue in her right hand. Africa protects her youthful face with a broad-brimmed and pointed feather hat, while her hair is braided into a swinging braid. A light cloth wraps around her left arm and is connected to her lower body by a pearl embroidered band. The figure's abdomen and bosom, whether supported by a cloth belt adorned with a stone, remain free of the cloth draped at random, while their legs are completely covered, and the angled posture can only be guessed at over the folds of the fabric. She has a bow ready in its left hand, but the bowstring is still tense. The right hand seems to feel for the corresponding arrow on her hip, but to no avail. The arrow is in the possession of the left of the two monkeys below their base. This annoys Aputo next to him. Her expression, open-mouthed frown, hints at her indignation at the theft. The other monkey sits demurely, tamed by Aputo by means of a gut belt on the opposite side. In the southeast presents the representative of America. In the southeast presents the representative of America. With her right hand, she is pulling an arrow out of the quiver and is ready to put it in the bow she holds in her left hand. The head of the Americas is crowned by a feather tiara, while her neck is adorned with a string of pearls. A fine cloth falls loosely over her left shoulder, covering her skin from the navel down to her knees. The crossed legs of America are naked, which is in contrast to the covered legs of the other continents. She is surrounded by two crocodiles turning away from it, whose haunting, aggressive presence forces the putti surrounding the scene into a defensive posture. Asia shows, sitting on a camel she holds in her right hand a spear, the blade of which is cut in the form of a crescent moon and additionally decorated with the long horsehair. Left hand hints at Asia pacifying the surrounding putti. Asia wears a sprawling turban on her head. The heavy-looking cloth with a decorated ornate hem is worn by the young woman over both shoulders, leaving the upper body uncovered except for a metal strap that supports the lower chest. Beads made into earrings and necklace adorn the face of Asia. Unlike other parts of the world, Asia does not flank animals, but only two putti. The camel is hidden except for his head, his neck and foreleg from the heavy garment of his rider. America, from the description I just read, America. Who is this woman? When the Renaissance artists are painting, I'm not saying that they had a specific person in mind, but just like their descriptions of these people, just like the descriptions that they made of them in the painting were very specific. Even the palaces and castles didn't miss a detail in the design. So, what makes you think that they wouldn't try or attempt to be as accurate as possible when describing the representatives of the four quadrants of the earth? The painters wanted to be known for being accurate, not liars. This is Africa. This is not what you were expecting. But what did we talk about? Lines on a map. And we saw that Africa was connected at one point. It's connected on one side at Egypt and Israel, meaning Asia, meaning what we term Asia. There are no lines in the soil or the sand. Europe. Europe doesn't change much, right? The representatives of Europe doesn't change much, right? But now that you've seen the representatives of the four quadrants of the earth, now that you've seen the paintings of the representatives of those four quadrants by the Renaissance artist, now you have to think, is the representation of Europe complete? Is it accurate? Is it complete? Well, like I said before, no one wants to be known or remembered as a liar. Asia. A church. Germany. Sulzheim. Saint Aegidius. A church in Germany. This look different from the basement church you went to when you was a shorty, don't it? The period of design, 1717 to 1722. Glorification of the Eucharist through the four continents, left to right: Europe, America, Africa, Asia. Europe, America, Africa, Asia. On the left, the figure represents Europe. On the right, the figure represents America. Look, look. We shouldn't have to do this for much longer. Why, with you looking at your family records and figuring out who you are, because you do know that all the issues of whoever your people are, all the issues, the root of all those issues are the fact that you don't know who you are. Maybe you do, but you don't. All of the issues stem from not knowing who you are. And not thinking for yourself. And another thing I noticed is that there are some that don't even believe their own eyes. On the left, the figure represents Europe. On the right, the figure to the right represents America. Who does that person look like on the right? And the other person who's over the person's on the right's right shoulder. Who are those people? You follow your records far enough back, you'll come close to knowing. Africa and Asia. The figure on the left is Africa. The figure on the right represents Asia. I know you weren't expecting that figure would be the figure that represented Asia. And that's because you fell for the hijack. You fell for the lines on the map. So did I. We up now. Let's shake it. Another church in Germany. Germans know who you is, man. Germans know exactly who you is, homie. A church in Germany. Beautiful attention to detail. The church in Germany, 1719 to 1720. Glorification of the Eucharist through the four continents, left to right: America, Europe, Africa, Asia. Individual figures, Africa and America, are taken from a composition by Johann Christoph Storer in 1664 on the occasion of the disputation of a graduate of the Dillinger Jesuit University. He had designed the depiction World Mission of the Society of Jesus. The 919 by 644 millimeter thesis sheet was laid by Bartholomew's Killian and decorated with the inscription in Alma et... I'm not going to read that. You butcher that. Left to right, America, Europe, Africa, Asia. Let's shake it. Left to right, the figures represent the four quadrants of the world: America, Europe, Africa, Asia. The figure to the far left, America. Looks like a string, looks like pearls around the neck, and it looks like a crown of feathers. Um, this is all too common in what we see when the depictions of America are given to us or are painted or drawn or described in great detail. The figure to the left, to the far left, the shape of the face looks like one of my uncles. The complexion, it's not what you're used to. No shade to the Native Americans or people who you term Native Americans. No shade. They're just not depicted here. To the far left, it's America, then Europe, which Europe doesn't change much in its depiction. Then we have Africa with the gold crown and the green and gold garments. And to the far right, we have Asia. And I won't even speak about the actual what's happening in the photo. Um, you have to dig a little, look a little, open your eyes, believe your eyes, and think for yourself. This is another church in Germany, Firth in the Forest. A church in Germany. The outside may look, it's a humble outside, but the inside, opulent. Another church in Germany is what we are looking at. Period of design, 1725 to 1727, is the period of design in terms of the paintings. The only surviving features are the frescoes on the choir ark. The four continents are the only surviving features. The four continents. This is America. This is America. No, not the song by Homie. Not the rap song by Homie. This is America. I know it's not what you used to. It's not what you've been told. But you might be more comfortable with someone else thinking for you, or someone else, when someone else tells you something. Oh, when someone else tells you something, you believe it. But when your eyes tell you something, you ignore your eyes. This is Africa. This is the representative of Africa. This is Asia. And Europa. Moving on, another church in Germany, St. George. Another church in Germany. Wow. Period of design 1725 to 1729. Artist Johann Georg Bergmuller. Glorification of Saint Benedict through the four continents, left to right. Africa, Europe, Asia, and America. And again, I'm not going to get into the why of these paintings. Why are these figures and images painted in these churches and palaces? I'm not going to get into that. I'll leave that to you. It'll make you a better male or female. Left to right, Africa, Europe, Asia, America. Let's shake it. So what we have here is Africa and Europe. The figure on the left is the representative of Africa, and they usually put the elephant on Africa. And the figure to the right is Europe. Africa and Europe. The figure on the left is the representative of the quadrant of Earth called Asia, and the figure on the right is the representative of the quadrant called America. Look. This is a church in Germany, Hindelang, St. John Baptist, a church in Germany. Period of design, it says undated. It says around 1728. Artist Balthazar Reep. Glorification of the heart of Jesus through the four continents. Glorification of the heart of Jesus through the four continents, left to right. Africa, Europe, Asia, and America. And if you want to display, or if your intentions is to show the allegiance that these four quadrants have to Jesus, you want to be accurate in the representatives of those quadrants. You want to be accurate in their descriptions. If your intentions are to show their allegiance, you want people to know who's showing allegiance to, or the glorification of the heart of Jesus. Left to right, Africa, Europe, Asia, America. Just below this scene, the black inhabitant of Africa bows deeply. Just below this scene, the black inhabitant of Africa bows deeply. His rich clothing, muscular appearance, curly short hair, and negroid fine facial features make him a symbol of a noble civilized savages. He wears a blue doublet with short slit sleeves and beaded trim. Under this, a red undergarment looks out and a white red lined cloth is wrapped around his waist. At his feet lie a quiver of arrows and a bow. Reevaluate what you think about a savage. Just means wild. It says fine facial features make him a symbol of a noble, civilized savage. Look up those three terms and see, do they go with each other? See, do they fit? In front of him, Asia is kneeling on the bottom step of the stairs. He leans his head and has his right hand on his heart. His clothing consists of a pink-colored caftan with gold cords on the chest, a cloth belt, and a green cape decorated with gold fringes on the hem. He has shaved his hair down to the middle of his head, and the rest of his neck has been gathered into a braid. Before him on a blue cushion rests a turban and a scepter, each carrying the Ottoman crescent. He holds a saber with his left hand. Behind him, in the background, a globe separates Europe from America. Leaning against it on the other side, the masculine representative, like Asia and Africa, has wrapped himself in an ochre-colored robe, under which only the puff sleeves of his turquoise underwear on the upper arms are visible. His hands fervently folded in front of his chest, and his lofty gaze testify to his conversion. On his head he wears a turban with a brooch decorated with 3 feathers on his forehead. The bright white of the feathers and the pearls on the hem of his robe contrast his dark brown complexion. America. Left to right. The figure on the left, the far left, is Africa. The next figure, Europe. The next figure below, Asia. The figure behind or above Asia is America. A little closer. Here we go. Let's just put our focus on America, since that's where I am right now and have always been. America has the turban with the white feathers. People who look like that, you were taught, were only from one place. The original Americans are not, well, you're not taught that the original Americans look like this figure. No. But it stops right there with you. You don't look any further. But you will today. You have today. We have today. Let's shake it. I don't got no idea about creation in terms of the beginning of life. I can't even comprehend what is meant by the beginning. I think all of us, And all of each of our generations before us originated on various earth soil portions. And each of our original earth soil portions, going back hundreds of years, needs us as much as we need it. Sometimes some of us return to our original earth soil portions, and some don't. And as a result, suffering conceives suffering. Do the right thing.